The mass death in Manila. In the vast literature of the Second World War, certain numbers echo again and again. 22,000, 3,000, 25,000 at Babi Yar, 33,000 during the Blitz, 43,000 elsewhere. But one number is almost always missing. A number buried in footnotes, if mentioned at all. Manila, 100,000. Asia's war remains one of the least documented chapters of the conflict. It is difficult even to estimate how many millions of Asians starved, drowned, felt a disease, or were massacred. And the tragedy of Manila is no exception, a catastrophe overshadowed, forgotten, almost erased. In 1944, the American invasion of the Philippines began, the second largest American campaign of the entire war. Conditions were hellish, even by World War II standards. Tens of thousands of soldiers on both sides collapsed from tropical diseases. Japanese troops starved as supply lines evaporated. Still, even with overwhelming numbers and superior technology, the Americans never fully liberated the Philippine Islands. When the war ended, bitter fighting still raged on several of them. One of the war's most devastating battles erupted unexpectedly. The Battle of Manila, from February 4th to March 3rd, 1945. Ironically, no battle was ever meant to take place inside the city. General Tomoyuki Yamashita had ordered Manila evacuated. He intended to withdraw his forces into the mountains. But Rear Admiral Sanji Iwabuchi defied those orders. He created his own defensive force, sealing Manila's fate. And although Yamashita would later be hanged for the horrors that followed, history now regards his execution as a miscarriage of justice. What unfolded in Manila were some of the most violent urban battles in Asia during the entire war. The city became the Stalingrad of the Pacific. Americans fought street by street, building by building, sometimes hand to hand. Japanese forces barricaded themselves inside civilian structures. American artillery responded by obliterating them. By the end, around 1,000 Americans and 16,000 Japanese soldiers lay dead. How many Filipino soldiers died, we may never know. But the true tragedy is often reduced to a mere footnote. The civilians. At least 100,000 Filipinos died, perhaps twice as many. A number so vast that even counting aloud from 1 to 100,000 feels impossible. Most died under relentless artillery fire. A brutal demonstration of the American euphemism, collateral damage. But thousands more were slaughtered by Japanese troops who, knowing death was inevitable, unleashed unimaginable cruelty, massacres, torture, rape, mutilation. Hundreds of thousands were left homeless, scavenging for food among the ruins while shells rained down, surrounded by rubble and corpses, plagued by disease and desperation. When the guns finally fell silent, Manila was a wasteland. Almost every building destroyed or damaged. Historic monuments reduced to dust. Power lines, water systems, transportation networks gone. Streets cracked open by craters and buried under debris. It is said only Warsaw suffered greater destruction during the war. And perhaps the most haunting truth, it never had to happen. Japan did not need to make its last stand in Manila. The United States did not need to level the city. The entire Philippine campaign was, in many ways, a detour, an opportunity for General Douglas MacArthur to fulfill a personal promise. I shall return. A promise that cost countless lives. The suffering of the Filipino people in 1944, 1945 remains poorly documented. It is unsettling that more shelves of books describe the fates of individual Western prisoners of war than the deaths of 100,000 civilians in Manila. One may argue that 100,000 is just another number among many. But if that number is all we can offer their memory, then we must offer it. Better a number remembered than a death forgotten.